Well, hello, everybody. I'm Ed Parco, and I'm with Amy T. Meyer, and we are the hosts of. It seems like it's been forever since we've been on, and it's only been a week and a half or so.
It
2 weeks,
does.
maybe.
It does.
Yeah.
I miss everyone. I miss
Everyone,
doing
it's
it.
just me. But you can say everyone. That's fine. It makes everybody feel good. I just enjoy having the guests on. We talk about their stories, their transition, helping vets, because that's what we're all about, because we're vets. And you have today's guest, correct? You know who you brought him
I
here?
do. I'm excited for this guest because he does a lot of things in the community with me, and
And what
I've known,
community is that?
and that's community around Joint Base Lewis McChord in Washington State. Um, and so my friend Brian will bring him in.
You want me to do it? Oh, you got it. All right. We'll get it so it's a little bit smaller. There we go.
Mew.
That's right. The wonder of technology.
Yes.
Hi, Brian. Thanks for coming to the show.
Hey, Ed, nice to meet you, re-meet you.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you.
Uh,
Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, and before the show started, we were all talking. I'm in Modesto, California, and Brian went to Bayer High School.
Yeah, I dropped an F-bomb. I was like, get the F-bomb out of here.
That's
I'm
okay.
freaking
Amy
from,
does that
yeah,
all the time
All the
live. It's
time.
okay. That's why we have to
yeah,
put illicit, under the category because of her.
Yes.
yeah,
They
What are you
call
gonna
me
do?
that
this
was,
this
we,
type of language in the army. It's okay.
Yeah.
right,
So
right, right.
So,
I
Brian, what
say,
what
Modesto,
service? Yeah, what service are we in?
I was Army and then Army National Guard. So
And did you join in Modesto?
I did. Yeah, I did.
Went to
After
MEPS, and did you
basically,
go MEPS in Fresno?
yeah,
Yeah, because
yeah,
I was Navy and I was Turlock, and that's where you went. And they were like, "Watch out for
yeah.
Dragon Lady," and then it's like,
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. And she was. I've never been so humiliated. I mean, it's like, hey, why don't you come down, spend 2 hours on the bus to come down and to be absolutely filled with shame, utter fucking shame. Like my mom hasn't even seen that place on my body, right? By some dragon lady. Yeah, that was, yeah, you just
yeah.
brought a little
Sorry,
PTS
you're
back
all
for
right
me.
there. Got some PTSD issue there.
so why did you
Uh,
choose the army?
Because, so, um, my I took the ASVAB, I think, in high school. I was not living at home at the time in high school, and I needed permission to switch my schedule around so I could get out early and go smoke more weed. No, actually, I was having to. I wanted to work at this job; it would pay $5 an hour, anyways. So my stepdad said the only way I'm going to do this is if you go take the ASVAB and go talk to a Navy guy. And when I went and talked to the Navy dude, he was just he, he was just another clown, and um, I wasn't picking up what he was putting down, but I ended up taking the ASVAB. Then a year later, I'd gone to school at Modesto Junior College, right, which is like the
mhm.
13th grade, and it was pathetic. I think I had my average, my GPA was W, right, for withdrawal, and I got an F. Actually, that's what it was. That was the wake up call. I got an F in a class that was too easy. I just quit going, and I thought the prof would drop me, and he didn't. He failed me, and so I was like, I got to get the hell out of here. And so I joined the army because I could go for 2 years and 16 weeks. Right, it was like the minimum effective dose to get the hell out of town, and and then you could get, if as long as you joined as a combat arms. I joined as a tanker. You could get, at the time it was a big deal. Not only the GI Bill, but the college fund, which we had to pay for. Do you remember that? You had to
Yeah, it
pay
was
hundred
It
bucks
was
in
the
each month. Yeah,
worst
yeah,
one. It was horrible.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. But
like
anyways,
being on
so
welfare trying to going to college. You had to pay your
yeah,
own way
yeah,
to get there. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Anyway, so I guess that's a long answer to Amy. I just needed. It was just the closest safety valve, and my quick brush with the Navy the year prior was like, no, right? Like anyway, the dude was just not a freaking clown. So, and the idea of sitting out on a boat for like 6 months with a dude like that was just anathema to my 19-year-old brain. So So the Army was
There it is.
very glorious, right, and noble in my decision making.
We've had some people on here who, because of a steak, they chose the service they were in. They took them out to a steak dinner.
Yeah, that's so funny.
So yeah, so it doesn't matter how you get there, just as long as you get there and what have you done with it, right? And we
Right.
always want to know your story, how long you're in, what did you do, and then your transition, and then we can get further on from there. So
Sure. Let me see if I can really summarize that real quick. So
we got 30 minutes, so take your time.
Oh, okay.
This is your
I
show. This is your life.
Well, thank you. I joined as a tanker because it was kind of like the minimum effective dose to get
And
the
for
high.
people who don't know, that's actually a tank driver, or you're driving tank.
Tanker crewman actually was the term. It's funny because I think my recruiter was a tank crewman as well, and so he downplayed infantry and artillery, and honestly, I was like, I don't care, dude. It's only going to be 2 years, and I'm taking one for the team to get some money, get out of town, and save my life. And I came up here to Fort Lewis, but while I was at basic training, they gave me the D lab and this Morse code test. They pulled like 6 of us out. And it's like day 4, like my head is still hurting from being shaved. You know what I mean? Like it's still tender. And like, hey, war hero, you think you're a smart war hero? And I'm like, I don't think anything, right? Tell me what to think and I'll think, just to get out of my face. But they gave us this, the language aptitude test and this Morse code test. And me and another dude, we were the only guys out of them that passed both of those. And they said, hey, you can, for 2 more years in the Army, you can go sit on a border. This was, Cold War 88. And I was like, in my head, I'm like, dude, this is the worst choice I've ever made in my life, right? The last thing I'm going to do is give you 2 more years. But that's important because it affected my next decision. I came up here to Fort Lewis and just fell in love with the place. I've been here, other than deployments and PCSs, I've been here since '89 when I got here. I love it. But after my first year, because I was only in 2 years and 4 months, right? 2 years and 4 months. As soon as I got here, I was essentially short, right? And I applied to the University of California, but because I think we talked with before, when I was, I'd switched my schedule around my senior year. I didn't have 2 years of Spanish. You needed to have 2 years of foreign language to go to the UCs. And so I was like, oh, those guys gave me the D lab. So I'll go to Monterey Defense Language Institute, study Russian because the Cold War was thawing, right? And serve for PT. And so I did that. And that led to being an MI guy and went to Germany, got married. Kelly was from up here. Came back, and so now we're at about 95. We got back from Europe. I'm a buck sergeant, just about get ready to make E6, and I'm a year out of separating, and finished my undergrad at that point, and was already started grad school at night. And the Army, really helped me. I think this was the biggest thing, dude. Was like picking up other people's cigarette butts. Right? Like, I remember thinking, man, if this is what life is like without an education, fuck, right? Like, I'm getting busy. I am not going to be picking up other people's cigarette butts for the rest of my life. And working for dudes whose GT score was, slower than their boot size, which you saw a lot of that in tank crewman. I just worked for monkeys and good people, but like just dim, right? Like dim.
The salt of the earth, we call them.
Yeah, that's one way. Yeah. So as I was transitioning, I was a year out from separating from right up here at Fort Lewis. I went and shopped the Army National Guard and the Army Reserve because in the intelligence community, we'd see these guys come in on the weekends. And I didn't think anything of them. I thought it was like a boys club. And I thought, well, what the hell? Why don't I go check out the Guard and see? I knew I wouldn't maintain my foreign language proficiency on my own, right? Because it's just miserable to study. I thought, well, I'll just maybe do it in the Guard. Anyways, I went over and found a unit that was an intelligence unit, and it was a really good dude. And I was like, hey, bro, I was looking up at the MTO. They had it, or line and block chart, for Navy folks, whatever other services call that, your positions. And I'm like, hey, dude, I'm going to grad school. And I think I was 26 or 27. I'm like, do you guys have like OCS or something way to get a commission? I don't want to do ROTC and hang out with a bunch of, 20-year-olds. Anyways, so he's like, yeah, dude, we've got OCS. And so first he's like, no, become a warrant officer. And I was like, no way, bro. That's not what I'm going to do. And so I was able to go through OCS in the Guard while I was active duty. So one weekend a month, I came across I-5 to Camp Murray, which is adjacent. It actually shares property with Joint Base Lewis McChord, the National Guard headquarters, and low crawled on my belly and had toothpaste shoved in my face and kicked in the, OCS was just, really joyful and emotionally the most harrowing thing I think I might have ever done. But so it was cool. I got out, I separated in April, I think, of 97. And then I was commissioned in the Guard 3 months later, and which is interesting. So this goes straight to the transition. And I think Amy had mentioned something about this when we were talking on the phone the other day. When I got out, I was ETSing in April of 97. I was a staff sergeant. I'd lived overseas. I've been promoted, I guess, 5 times. Had a undergraduate degree, spoke a foreign language, and was halfway through graduate school. And I'm like, hey, I wanted to kind of like an adult job, a job with a title. And it was like crickets. And we had some job fairs at Fort Lewis. And it was basically like, hey, bro, do you want to be a security guard for Wagon Hut? That's what they saw. And I was like, yeah, no thanks, bro. And so what I literally did is I waited tables at the Ram restaurant. Amy, you probably know that in Lakewood. Which is ironic because like 10 years later, previously I was waiting tables before I joined the Army. And I was like, oh, God, right, I'm right in the same freaking place. But I knew, and once I got commissioned, I'd be off to officer basic course for 6 months. And anyways, but the moment I got a commission, this was the thing that just drove me crazy, and which has kind of influenced what I'm doing now, is the minute I got a commission, man, the doors were kicked wide open. I got I got mailers, as in before email was so prevalent, from these JMO, junior military officer headhunters, and they were kicking down doors to the corporate world for me, and I ended up getting an adult job using those guys. But I remember thinking, I'm the same clown, right, that you wouldn't even talk to 6 months ago. And everybody knows, whether you're Navy, it's an ensign, or friggin' the Army second lieutenant. Like the second lieutenant's really like you're lower in the,
right,
mud on the boot of a private, right? Yeah. So, anyways, and then I ended up, long story short, I guess I did 5 years out in the corporate world. Found it.
I'm still stuck at the 2 years you were only going to do, and then all of a sudden 10 years later we get to now.
Totally,
you didn't tell that story real well. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, I guess it's like it was.
So you were. I'm only going to be in for 2 years, and then that was what you said.
Yeah, and then it was like, well, I wanted to go to the University of California, not the California State Schools, and so
Right.
yeah, I'll give a little.
So when you were after the 2 years, because you were up there, right?
Yeah.
And then where'd you get stationed out? So you must have re-enlisted.
I did.
I think Germany, meeting your wife might have been.
Yep.
And so then you went to Germany after your.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we went. I re-enlisted. It was actually called the BEAR, bonus extension and re-enlistment, to go to school at Monterey, and then I had to re-enlist once I got the new MOS. And
so you went to the language school at Monterey.
Roger. Yeah, the language monitors. And then Kelly and I got married in Carmel. I was supposed to go to University of Washington. I was trying concurrently to get this green to gold scholarship to go ROTC, because I thought, hey, at the Army, within 2 years, which I guess is, Ed, you're pointing this out that I didn't really clarify it. The Army was sticking enough to me that I kind of liked it. I thought I'd like it a lot more if I could go aviation, become an aviation officer. It was kind of like the idea, right? And so I was applying to go through the language school with all intention of finishing that up, getting the MI with signals intelligence. So I had to go to Texas for like 5 months after that. And then I was going to get out.
Where in Texas?
To, San Angelo.
Medina?
It's a Goodfellow. No, it's Goodfellow Air Force Base. It's right. I mean, it's so flat. You know, you look west and see the back of your head. Right. It is freaking. I think central mid. I mean, like right in the heart of Texas. And that Green to Gold scholarship didn't work out, and so I had to re-enlist, and that's when like we were going to get married a year later. I was engaged to Kelly. We were going to get married up north, you know, up here, and life kind of changed, and we had to kind of threw a wedding together in Carmel, and then went to Germany. Kelly
Really
stayed.
horrible place to have a
I know,
wedding.
dude, it was so
Just
it was
horrible.
So it was so beautiful, dude. Really.
Amy, you ever been to
just,
Carmel or Monterey? Oh, then you're missing it.
No,
Oh, man.
I've been to San Antonio, LA.
It's not nowhere close to the same.
Monterey's like it's in the top 5 beautiful places on the planet.
Yeah.
Seriously, like it's and Carmel is. You know what? Actually, what's his name? Clint Eastwood used to be the mayor of Carmel. So
he lived there
Pebble
forever.
Beach
Yeah,
is
there
Carmel.
forever.
Yeah. So
it was the place.
I went to Europe.
Yeah. What's nice about Carmel and Monterey is it's cool compared to the rest of the places. So.
Yeah. It's man, we love it.
It's like San Diego, but San Diego's warmer, but Monterey is the cool for up here. So, but it's expensive, man.
Oh my God. And it's that what I think of is like the angry ocean, you know, like those big rocks and the Pacific just blast. It was so goddamn beautiful. And we were in the water. I mean, language school itself was hard. Probably the most academically challenging thing I'd ever done. And then, but we'd surf every day. And I was just joyful. So I then went to Europe. So then got married, then went to Europe, and then came back here.
And because you went to Europe and you were there probably 4 years?
Almost 3. But see, so 92 to 95, we were supposed to stay until 96. But in the Army, I can't remember if you were, but back then, if you were selected for promotion, but you didn't have what they call BNOC, I don't know what they call it now, but the basic non-commissioned officer, I had to come back. So I was curtailed to come back and go to school. And that's where we got back to Lewis. And that's where Kelly's from, Bellevue, which is about an hour northeast of us here. And so, yeah, then kind of like, I guess, back separated out in the corporate world. 9/11 happened. And I was already realizing that I was happier in the Guard on the weekends than I was peddling propane. And anyways, I was able to find a job in the National Guard full time, which is it's really timing more than anything. I finally come to at that point, I was just around 30, I think maybe 31, 32. And it like hit me that I'm a soldier. Like I finally came to terms with it. It seems funny, but for 10 years, I was kind of like, my values were, I was wearing false values, might be the most accurate. I thought I was chasing money, thinking that would fill a hole. And what it turns out is purpose and meaning and being around men and women that I totally adore and trust. And like all that stuff came crashing back to me. And so I was so blessed to be able to find a job in the Guard full time. And that lasted for the next 15 years. And I ended up retiring in 2015. And I think, Amy, you and I might have met prior to that or close to me getting out, because I was in the transition business when I was in the Guard. That was my last full-time gig. Maybe not, but
maybe it's hard when you have to backtrack the different organizations, because I was telling Ed that I thought I was at your TED Talk, and we
might have
talked
been
about that.
Well, that was 2012, I think, 2011 or 2012. That was kind of cool, actually, to be able to do that.
What was your TED Talk on?
Incremental growth might be the broadest explanation. The name of it I called 1 Pound Stronger, and I'm kind of a gym rat, right? So I was doing this weightlifting program called Wendler 531. Anyways, it's this formula. It's 4 lifts, and you do one like flat bench, mill press, deadlift, squat, and was doing mill press one day, and what you do with the program is you, at the end of your workout, you add 5 pounds to the next week's workout. And I had a really good lift day one day, and I had the idea. I just thought this through, that I'm adding 5 pounds. That means this week, this day, I'm 1 pound stronger than I was yesterday. And it just really like resonated with me. Like, that's real. That's bankable. It's not, 50 pounds tomorrow, right? Which is what I usually want. Yeah. So
I've lifted for years, and so I get it.
Yeah.
I was more of a 5 pound more.
Yeah. That's, I guess, what I
It just depends.
Like 1 pound stronger was my first adult thought. Right.
My big thing is just go up, 5 pounds a week, and you'll get to where you want to be. Go slow, don't go fast. So
that's exactly what it is. It's 5 pounds a week, but when I poured that back, it was So, anyways, but
regardless, what are you doing now?
So I have a company called Grit 360, and I can't remember if their website's up or down right now. But I call it 3 verticals: we build, we connect, we create, we inspire. And what I was focused on, basically, the we connect, was helping veterans and spouses find work out in the real world. I worked in recruiting when I was in the Guard. I was actually the officer recruiter, and then the XO and the S3 or S3 and XO of recruiting. And I guess out in the corporate world, I've interviewed hundreds. And when I was working my last full-time gig in the Guard, it was kind of like health and human services for the Guard. So everything you don't want to talk about, right? Like family programs and suicide prevention, resilience, family programs, and then, job transition. That was my work. And so I knew a ton. I put together 4 or 5 career fairs with the folks over at JBLM. And I knew a ton of people in the human resources community. And so I thought, why don't I help people find jobs? And I'm kind of I guess, I don't know if you guys read Gladwell, but it's his first one, Tipping Point. I'm a connector, right? Like I'm hyper gregarious. I love to meet people. And I guess, maybe it's a superpower, but being the best way to use that superpower is to solve 2 problems, right? An employer that needs a talented individual and a transitioning young soldier. And it really goes back to what I said in the first place, when they were like, as an E6, like, yeah, not so much, man. Why don't you go put on this polyester uniform and work for Wagon Hut Security? And it's like, really, bro? But then 3 months later, I'm a second lieutenant, and they're like, "Yay, here's the keys to the kingdom." So what I'm hoping to do is find better, like authentic work for the kind of E4 to E6, E7 crowd and their spouses, because Captain America really doesn't need much help transitioning. The corporate world knows that, knows who they need, right? And not that I wouldn't help a soldier, but they don't need the help, I think, as much as I can help with the young NCO. So.
And we agree, because we see the transitioning for them much harder than it is for officers and retirees and people like that, because they're seen. There's less of them, and there's a lot more be picked up. So we totally agree with you, helping them. That's where it needs to be helped at. So we agree.
Yeah, and I think in some ways
but I am putting words in Amy's mouth, by the way.
Well, and Brian and I talked about it, and I agree. I also feel like companies will benefit from it, and
big time. Yeah,
because I can appreciate a great officer, but I also can appreciate the NCOs who've come up through the ranks as much, if not more. And I think a lot of times businesses kind of miss the mark of understanding, when they're looking at culture and they're looking at longevity, that NCOs will bring. There's a reason why they say NCOs are the backbone of the Army. But yet there's this disconnect in the social sector.
I think people just in the civilian world don't understand the military. All they know is the officers in charge, right? They're the big guys. That's all they know. They don't know the rest of the ranks. They have no idea what this means, what that means. And I think that's where the problem is. It's just they're not educated about where, and we need to do a better job with that. Not maybe. And if you need help with anything, let me know, Brian, because I'm adamant about what you're doing. So,
thank you. Yeah. I also, I guess, to that point, I build Kelly and I have an animal rescue that we started back in 2005. And we find homes for dogs and cats, abandoned, abused, neglected dogs and cats. And our primary fundraiser is this super cool event called Unleashed at Stadium Bowl, where we race up and down the stairs at Stadium High School. And Ed, you probably wouldn't even admit it if you did, but there was a movie called 10 Things I Hate About You, right? It's a rom-com that
I have no problem watching them with my wife.
There you go.
I'm a sensitive man. I'm French. I'm a lover, not a fighter. So
he's a very sensitive man.
Yeah. Well, we race up and down the stairs at this high school.
Just enough. I'm sorry, I don't like cats. That's how unsensitive I am. So the one animal.
You wouldn't get along with my wife.
That's okay.
But yeah. No, so I think in some ways, if you think about being overseas, the officers were not the highly paid contractors, right? They didn't need somebody who's gonna manage the interrogation booth, right? They needed somebody who could actually ply the trade. And it was funny because I get all these young college kids coming into my office. This is when I was in the Guard, and I was kind of was the battalion commander as my last job of the MI, the intelligence battalion. And they're like, "Hey, sir, I want to be an MI officer." And I was kind of like, "Well, okay, but let me ask you: would you prefer to, interrogate Taliban in the booth, and have them give up the goods, or would you prefer to manage the interrogation schedule?" And they're kind of like, "Well, I would, prefer to be in the game." And it's like, "Yeah, bro, then you need to enlist." Right, because the coolest, sexiest jobs are enlisted, and then we can send you to Monterey and teach you language. Then we can teach you to be a human collector or singing, whatever it is. But yeah, the civilian world, there's just a huge disconnect on what where the real skills lie, and to this day, it kind of. I guess I'm like Eric Cartman, right? I got a problem with authority, right? I'm trying to stick it to the man, right? Like, you got to help out the Joe. They're the ones that really have the talent. So I guess I'm kind of going all over the place. But,
that's okay. We're used to that. Yeah. We usually try to do a better job, but I like your story. That's like I got my bachelor's and was finishing my master's while I was in, and there was no way I was going to go to OCS in the Navy because I would have to be a line officer, and there's no way I wanted to be on a ship. I got my whole 5 years, 5 months, and 14 days. I only saw a ship when I went by one time. I was stationed at Camp Pendleton. So I was like, I know for a fact that because I went into physical therapy, which I knew that wasn't on ships, so. And then I was like, okay, there's no way I want to be on a ship and on a Westpac, that whole thing, my whole life. That's not what I wanted. So,
yeah.
But my son's, like I said, is on the Army up in Anchorage. He's a airborne medic. He's getting stationed next June down where you guys are. So,
cool. It's really one of the most stunningly beautiful places on the planet for about 50 days out of the year.
Well, that's like we were in Alaska, right? And it's like, okay, it must be 8:00. No, it's midnight. And it's sunny out, right? And then it goes somewhat twilight dark, which was really not dark. And then next thing you know, at 4:00 in the morning, it's light again. So
yeah. It's not quite that bad here, but there is by late January, February, you're like, bro, like I need some freaking sunshine. It's slate gray and dark.
But you have more than 4.5 hours of light.
Totally. Yeah.
Where he is in Anchorage, if you've ever been there, it's like it's 10 a.m. and 3:30.
Yeah. Land of the midnight sun, right? I mean, you could be golfing at midnight.
Or you can't do anything because it's dark during the winter. So.
Right. Yeah. Totally.
But yeah, he enjoyed it, and now he's like, I'm looking forward to somewhere else, and I'll tell you this off why. Remind me after when it's not recorded.
Okay.
All right. Anything else? So we went through the Army, and now you do transitioning, and that's a Grit 360.
Yeah, Grit 360. Yeah.
All right, and then
and the I guess the race Unleashed at Stadium Bowl, and it's that's.
Do you work with people outside of your area, your state, to help them find jobs?
Not yet. It's I'm it's everything's really personal, right? So it's just the people that I know, and most of them are local business owners or decision makers up here. And I guess I'm blessed to have a pension, so I don't have to work that hard. You know what I mean? So it's you guys probably hear my dogs. You hear my dogs?
Yeah. I thought that was Amy clacking on her keyboard. Amy, did you have anything to say?
No, I just I will reiterate the Unleashed Stadium event is you have to sign up by the 31st, and it is 31st of this month, so 3 days. And
I'm not going to make it.
It's a fabulous event. It's super, super hard, but you're done in like 45 minutes.
Yeah. And this benefits the
Kindred Souls Foundation. That's our animal rescue that my wife and I started.
Which is a non-kill rescue, and it's a really neat charity.
And it's all animals?
Dogs and cats. Abandoned, abused, neglected dogs and cats of all ages. Yeah. And we I've been thinking about this after, you act things out before you really understand what you're doing, right? For maybe years. Something that I've realized after doing this, we brought up that mission statement. We provide sanctuary to abandoned, abused, neglected dogs and cats of all ages. 17 years ago, actually now. And what I realized is that the animals then provide sanctuary to the abandoned, abused, neglected parts of us, right? So
they pick us, we don't pick them.
Right. So
I found a American bully on our walking trail that I do at night and back in March, and he was tied up to the exercise equipment abandoned there. And so I took him home, and dude, it's the best dog I've ever had. And I've had a lot of dogs.
Yeah. That's great, man. That's great. Yeah, I can't believe you're from Modesto, dude. Anyway.
That's all right. Well, I'm not from Modesto. I was actually born elsewhere. I'm just living there now. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. I appreciate you coming on the show today, Brian. Thanks for telling your story. Amy, thank you for being here. Anything you want to add, Amy, before we go? Don't click anything, because get your hands away from everything. Because I'll say, oh, you got anything to say? Sure, click, and we're off. It's like, no, we got to say goodbye. Everybody, if you like what we're doing here, subscribe and share, or let us know. Yes. Amy, you want to say goodbye?
Thank you, Brian, for your service. And Ed, thank you as well for always putting up with me.
Someone's got to. I got a ticket from your husband, so, give him a break once in a while. Brian, it's really nice to get to meet you. And if I can ever help you with what you're doing, let me know. I really work.
Thanks, bro.
Yeah. And especially when my son gets there in a year, I'll be there a lot more, and then I can do more up there.
You'll love it. Great. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Stay there, Brian. Don't go anywhere. All right, everybody. Thank you again for watching, and thanks for subscribing when you do, and make it a great day.